Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Rita Uzoma Okolo Ikuku, and if this is your first time on Rita Uza's Tribe, welcome. Please click on the subscribe button. Okay, this is a channel where I share about my faith, even though I've not done that in ages. I share vlogs about my life, and of course I hook you up with career and scholarship opportunities. And today's video, which I'm gonna try and make as quick as possible, is about the Chevening scholarship. I had promised you guys in my last video that I was going to make a detailed video showing you exactly how to write your Chevening essays, contemplating the new Chevening rules. And when I say the new Chevening rules, you can watch my last video to know exactly what it is I am talking about. So let's dive right into the video. Guys, I have to complain. Guys, I just finished making a video and realized that I shot the entire video in portrait mode. Yes. So I'm starting this video afresh. But the grace of God, which passeth all understanding, I'm giving myself a gratia. Anyway, let's dive right into the video. I'm going to start with your leadership essay, of course, and I'm going to be reading Chevening's new essay questions. All right? Yep, let's get into it. Your leadership essay, what do they expect from you this time around? I'll read the questions and I'll explain how to go about answering the question, okay? The question says, describe a time when you demonstrated leadership. In your answer, please address the following. What was the context of the challenge you faced? What specific actions did you take as a leader? What was the outcome and what did you learn? How has this experience shaped your approach to leadership? You must enter a minimum of 100 words and a maximum of 300 words. Okay, so you guys, this essay is essentially almost the same thing as the last leadership essay with some little tweaks here and there, okay? You're still expected to use the STAR approach. Situation, task, action, result approach. I'm assuming that if you're watching this video, this is not your first time hearing about Chevening, or it's not your first time watching any video on Chevening and you know what the STAR approach is. But if you don't know what the STAR approach is, just click on the Chevening playlist on my YouTube channel and you will find detailed videos on leadership essay, how to ace it, and how to employ the STAR approach. But I'm going to just give you a brief example because I don't want this video to be too long. In fact, I think I'm going to divide it into two. So today's video will essentially focus on your leadership and networking, and I'll post part 2 some other time that would focus on your studying in the UK and your career plan. All right, let's dive into the video. What was the context of the challenge you faced? So this is essentially your situation or your problem statement. And now I think I was telling some of my mentees recently that you might not be expected to write too many examples this time around. Before we used to say give at least 2 examples, but now that might not be possible. If you still can and exhaustively speak about them in 300 words, perfect, go for it. But if you cannot, try and focus on one example that is very good, very strong. Make sure it is very strong, guys, please, and really exhaustively tackle it. Okay, make sure all these questions are answered. All right, so what was the context of the challenge you faced? You talk about the problem, the situation, and the context. Now I would advise, based on what they've written on their website, that you speak about like a global context and then narrow it down to your local context. Okay, so if you want to talk about, say, education for young girls in Nigeria now, how young girls access to education is reduced for young girls in Nigeria, first talk about it globally. You can, in the global context first, right? You can talk about how you have the WHO, the World Bank, or whatever has released a statistic, a good one from a reputable organization, right? Oh, speak about how they have 95% of girls, young girls, are denied access to education, and you have seen this statistic reflected in your local community in Imo State. You can even talk about your actual local community in rural communities like, say, Nkwere and Urata community in Imo State, right? So let me say it like I want to write the essay. Please, I beg you. It doesn't have to be like this. I'm just giving you an example. The World Bank has stipulated that, or based on the 2025 World Bank report, 10,000 girls are out of school in blah 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 blah, or education has something reduced in, in the world for girls, blah blah blah. Do you get? So that's a global context. If you can bring in a UK statistic or something, whatever, so you can link it to a UK global priority, that would be perfect, right? Or you can even say, oh, the UKVI has released reports that, did I just say UKVI? I'm sorry. You can say the UK whatever foreign office has released a report that 95% of young girls or has released a report that they are funding education for young girls in Africa because of the number of out of school young girls in Africa. So you have linked it to a global issue, right? And then you bring it to a local community and say that you have witnessed or you have observed this problem with accessibility to education in the Inquiry community in Imo State. And since this is something you're passionate about, you want to do something about it, right? And then you go to the next rung. You've given us the context of the challenge you face. That's the first question. The second one is, what specific actions did you take as a leader? Now you go to your task and action, right? Task and action basically is, what were the tasks that you needed to undertake? I needed to write a proposal to the Women and Girls, the Ministry of Women and Girls Affairs, blah blah blah. I needed to outline the budget, and I needed to fundraise for the project I wanted to undertake. Project XYZ, maybe project Empower a Girl Child, or project Back to School campaign, like the one my non-profit is currently running, Urio Foundation. So I needed to undertake a back to school campaign to ensure or to improve accessibility to education for young girls in rural communities in Imo State, right? To achieve this, I wrote a proposal to the Ministry of Women Affairs. I did this and this. I brought together a group of volunteers. I facilitated a fundraising campaign online, etc, right? So you now say, in the course of 3 to 5 months, I organized a back to school drive, providing young girls in rural communities like Nkwere, Urata, and Ifadigo community with back to school materials, organizing scholarships for these young girls, blah blah blah, and ensuring that there were back to school meals, etc. As a result, you've given us your actions now that you took as a leader. What was the outcome and what did you learn? Now, in previous essays, remember that we talk about the STAR approach, and then when we bring the error, lessons learned. STAR means situation, task, action, and results. When we bring lessons learned, we always say it like it is not mandatory, but now it is obviously mandatory because it is part of the questions. So what was the outcome, which is your result, and what did you learn? These two are interwoven now in the new whatever. So you tell us, as a result of this back to school campaign or back to school drive, over 3,000 young girls in rural communities like XYZ community received scholarships for the new term and received back to school materials. They are now back in school. They are now learning. What are the lessons learned? Education is, I have learned throughout this process that education is the backbone of society, and young girls or women contribute so to the growth or economic growth and development of a community, and as such, education is an integral part of that contribution. Hence, to improve economic development, it begins with educating the young girls in the community or in the society. And then now, this is a very important one. How has this experience shaped your approach to leadership? This is a new thing entirely that was not there before. You can now say, as a result of my experience with out of school young girls in these communities, my purview of leadership or my view of leadership has improved. I now see leadership as a call to action. How it has changed your own approach to leadership. If your approach has not changed, you can say, I just learned how to do things better. I learned that leadership takes organization and it takes bringing people together. So this is what, to me, an approach. To me, this experience has shaped my approach to leadership by, enlightening me on the importance of grassroots collaboration, on the importance of volunteer this, on the importance of networking, on the importance of, I don't know, but decide what approach you want to elucidate. So that's essentially it. Speak about your whatever it is you've done as a leader using the STAR approach, and of course make sure you bring in Chevening at the end of it. Find a way to link Chevening, that this experience has shaped your approach to leadership, and you know that with the Chevening platform, since Chevening is a leadership based scholarship, or is a very leadership focused scholarship, you'll be able to do XYZ. You'll be able to do more when it comes to improving access to education for young girls in rural communities in Nigeria and Africa. Okay, I made all this up on the spot, so please forgive me if it's not perfect. Thank you. Now let us go to your networking. Remember, not more than 300 words. Don't go and disqualify yourself before disqualification starts by writing more than 300 words. Make everything you're writing concise. Make your words concise. Instead of saying, I woke up this morning and I now took my bath and decided to go to the market. I woke up this morning, I woke up, bathed, and headed to the market. See, I said the same thing but I used less words. So please, that's how you should be writing. All right. Now let's go to your networking essay. It says, tell us about a professional relationship you have built and maintained. In your answer, please address how was the relationship formed and what made it important. What did you contribute to this relationship and what did you gain? Give and take. How have you sustained or developed this relationship over time? How will these skills help you build connections within the Chevening community and beyond? This is always a very difficult question for people to answer, networking, and I don't know why. Well, I know why. No, I really know why, because I found it difficult in my time too. But trust me, it's not as difficult as it sounds. Go and watch my other video on networking. Some principles are still very valid. Aside the change in questions, the core principles of how to write these essays are still valid. First of all, your W's. Okay, because before you answer the first bullet point, which is how was this relationship formed, how was the relationship formed and what made it important, you have to first tell us what relationship it is in the first place. And before you tell us that, you have to give us a little bit of context. Okay, so your context is your when and where this relationship was formed. That's like a little background. Then you tell us who the relationship was formed with before you now start telling us how the relationship was formed and what made it important, right? I cannot just say I met Dr. It's a bit abrupt. So lead us in like 2 sentences or a very short paragraph, considering that your word count has reduced. A very short paragraph. I'll give an example. In 2019, at the Women Leaders Initiative or at the Women Leaders Conference in Uganda, that's your when and your where. You've already given us that in just one short sentence. I met Dr. Anikulapo Kuti. Now you're giving us your who. See? At a breakout session. So that's how you form this relationship, right? At a breakout session on access and inclusion for young girls in Africa, or access to education and inclusion for young girls in Africa, right? And we connected on our shared passion for education for young girls, on making access to education, on improving access to education for women, for young girls in Africa. So you see, you've answered that question. You've told us how you formed the relationship and what made it important. Your shared passion for improving access to education. Again, I'll take it. In 2019, at the Women's Leaders Conference in Uganda, I met Dr. Anikulapo Kuti at a breakout session for improving opportunities in Africa. And we connected on our shared passion for improving access to education for young girls in Africa. You have answered that one already. And you have given us background context, so it flows. It's going to make your essay more coherent. Now you go to the next one, which is, what did you contribute to this relationship and what did you gain? Now, this part is tricky. You can bring in your STAR approach here as well, but now you're not going to write it the same way you wrote it for leadership. You're not going to go into too much details. You will just make it very short, right? You can now say in this place that what did you contribute to this relationship and what did you gain? You can first tell us what you gained. You can say, due to your shared passions, you pitched your idea for improving access to education for young girls in rural communities in Imo State to her. And intrigued with your idea, she lent you her network at the Women and Girls office. So remember, you submitted your proposal to the Women and Girls Ministry, the Women's Ministry in Imo State. You can say that through her networks in Nigeria and in Imo State, your proposal, it accelerated the approval time for your proposal. So she accelerated the approval time for your proposal and also helped you with your fundraising efforts by linking you with her rich network of gender equality enthusiasts, right? You can even say she also was a guest speaker at one of your drives during the campaign, your back to school campaign. She was a guest speaker. She lent you her. Do you understand? So that's what you gained from your relationship with her. You see, as a result, you also helped her with some of her research. Maybe she's doing a very, very integral research right now on access to inclusion, access to education, or inclusion of young girls in access to education in Africa. And as a result, you built a volunteer team that helped to conduct research, conduct surveys in Nigeria, and helped to collate results for her research. As a result, her research was published in Mercy, the World Bank Initiative publication reports for access to inclusion for young girls in Nigeria. Okay, that's long, but yeah. So as a result of your contribution to her, she gained something, you gained something, right? So this is how to answer that question. Still use the STAR approach. As a result, I saw this, I noticed this problem and I needed to solve it. Based on our shared passions, I spoke to her about my proposal. She helped accelerate my proposal with the women's office, blah, blah, blah. And as a result, I was able to conduct my back to school campaign and impact the lives of over 1,000 young girls or 3,000 young girls in 5 rural communities in Imo State, Nigeria. I also helped her with XYZ. So you have given us your situation, the action you took, very briefly, because this is networking, no leadership, and how she contributed, and you've given us the results. Then you've gone on to tell us how you also contributed to her. Now let's go to the next one, which is how have you sustained or developed this relationship over time? You can say over time, you have continued to connect over your like-minded passions or over your like interests in gender equality, especially as it relates to young girls. You have continually contributed in or volunteered with her initiatives, and she has also mentored you. She has also mentored you and provided insights into different projects that you have undertaken after your former project. Like you mentioned the project. Remember, we are going for specificity in this networking essay. So be very specific. Every single thing you've done, say it. Say it. Okay? Give names, give places, give numbers. Be very, very specific. And then they've already helped you to bring Chevening in by asking you, how will these skills help you build connections within the Chevening community and beyond? They've helped you to bring Chevening in already. So you speak to them about connecting with like-minded gender equality enthusiasts or intellectuals in the Chevening community. And of course, building your network. Aside Chevening, building your network maybe with a research school, the research school in the UK. Building your network by connecting with your professor who is also very into this space, or who also shares like passions with you in the gender equality space. Raising a team of volunteers when you return from the UK of shared passions or shared projects, or I don't know. So this is how to answer your networking question. All right, I think this is where I'm going to end today's video, because I'm sure it's already very, very long, but I hope it has helped shed a bit more light on how to answer both your leadership and your networking questions. Please remember, do not use AI. They said it very, very clearly on their website, the Chevening website. If you use AI, you've automatically disqualified yourself. So don't use ChatGPT to write your essay. Write it from your head. You can use Grammarly to correct your punctuation errors, correct grammatical errors, but do not use AI to write your essays. All right, and stick to the word count. Make sure you answer everything on the bullet points. Stick to the word count, please, and please don't write beyond 300. I know it's not easy, but please stick to the word count. And of course, what else did I want to say? I'm going to overlay the questions as well, so you can see the questions in case you didn't hear, you're not able to get. Of course, if you even check the Chevening website, it's right there. It is there. So I wish you good luck in your applications, and I hope that this video has been helpful. If it has, please like, subscribe, share with all your friends and everyone you know who wants a fully funded scholarship to study in the UK. All right, I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.